All right, Shalom. Want to begin this lesson by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, Waha Rakah Kwadash, which in the ancient Hebrew tongue would be the correct names of the Heavenly Father, His beloved Son, and the Holy Spirit. I also would like to give double honors to my teachers, the head apostles and elders, a great millstone. Much due honors and respect to the sincere brethren out there. There's also laboring in His work. And as always, want to say shalom to the believers, the Akim as well as the Aqua, which would be you brothers along with the sisters that subscribe to this truth as well. So yeah, the topic of this lesson right here is going to be centered around the missiles, all right, which is actually a very important component, if you will, to Bible prophecy. And that in itself can be a stumbling block to most. The fact that we merit modern terminology, such as America and World War III, and in this case, the missiles with what's perceived to be an ancient book. That can pose many challenges, if you will, to the unlearned and the mass majority of you people out there. And this is what makes this gospel not of this world. That's why our Lord Yahweh Shah made the statement, I am from above and you are from beneath, which translates to these teachings, which cannot be bound by the earthly realm. You and your perception and your outlook and what you might deem to be believable versus unbelievable. Look, that has no part over here, all right? And the driving force behind those differences of opinion, if you will, is the fact that we come in the spirit of prophecy, which when you consider prophecy, it translates to mystery, man, and intrigue, okay? And the unknown. Whenever you deal with anything that requires foretelling, or foreshadowing, predicting, and ultimately prophesying, there's a certain level of mystery that comes along with that. And that pretty much brings conflict versus, for an example, history. When dealing with history, you can come to a certain agreement for the most part. You can cross-reference dates and times and events, and ultimately you can come to an agreement for the most part. And I emphasize, for the most part, because right now, under the watch of the so-called white man, this man has pretty much tainted history and have rewritten a lot of the history. But for the most part, for an example, when you go into the ancient world, you might have one whose pedigree or lineage is in question. Well, to curb that disagreement, or come to a conclusion, you can simply go into the history books or the records, man. See? But that's not the case when concerning prophesying. There's going to always be a certain level of conflict. Why? Because prophecy is surrounded by mystery and intrigue. And when you consider this doctrine that we teach, which is the testimony of our Lord Yahweh Shah, which is the spirit of prophecy, there's a certain mystery that comes along with it across the board. For an example, when we present the idea that the scriptures foretell that here in the latter days, the devil that the Bible speaks of would be identified and targeted and unveiled, and he would be the so-called white man, that's a mystery to most. You see? Or the fact that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are people robbed and spoiled and downtrodden, looked down upon, oppressed, made mockery of, is actually the children of the Most High. That remains a mystery to most, see? Or the fact that America is recorded in the scriptures and it's actually Babylon the Great. That's a mystery. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's start off right there before we get into this lesson, because the scriptures actually spotlight that, man. Okay, found right here in the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter and the 5th verse. It says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And why is this Babylon known as a mystery right here? Because it's concerning America, which falls under the guise of prophecy, man. Versus ancient Babylon. There's no mystery when concerning ancient Babylon. Okay, it's documented that they was taken down by the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay, from a geographical perspective, ancient Babylon could be located in modern-day Iraq. So who is this mystery Babylon right here we're reading about in Revelation the 17th chapter? Again, it would be America, man. And why is it a mystery? Because it's a part of prophecy. See? So whenever you prophesy, you're pretty much foreshadowing, And with any prediction, it's a mystery because you have nothing physical to substantiate or support that proclamation or that declaration. See? Which brings me to this lesson, which is going to be centered around the missiles. All right? Which is also a mystery, man. Why? Because it's a very important piece, if you will, to Bible prophecy. Because the perception of the most of you people out there is that the missiles was created, just to marvel at, or for these different nations to parade and present, an upgrade in their latest developments of the ICBM or whatever missile, okay? Or maybe your perception of the missiles is they're going to be created to go into some damn museum one day, all right? Or the missiles was created to give leverage to these different nations and to solidify them as a powerhouse. Look, the fact of the matter is these missiles was created to carry out the bidding of Yahweh Shema Shah. And to go further into that mystery, they are actually a creation of Yahweh Shema Shah. See? Which brings me to the feature scripture, if you will, found in the book of Isaiah, the 54th chapter, in the 16th verse. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work." Let's read this again. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work." Now, you might have one to rebuttal this precept by saying, well, that's designated to the ancient world. Okay, that's just the Lord highlighting the fact that he created the blacksmith that created the ancient weapons of that day, which comes in the form of spears and javelins and swords and shields, okay? But when you go to the book of St. John, the first chapter, in the 3rd verse, it says, "All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made." See that? Let's read this again. "All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made." Not some things, anything made that was made. See? And that spills over to right now. All right? Because you have a lot of people, and their approach is, that was the Bible days. Well, I got news for you, man. Every day is the Bible day. Matter of fact, let me get some real quick before we go back. This is the book of Revelation, the 1st chapter, in the 8th verse. It says, "I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty." See? So not only is the Lord the power over that which is dealing with the present, or which was, which is concerned in the past, but also which is to come, man, which is concerning the future. Meaning the Lord, through his Son, has jurisdiction over everything. All right? He controls all sides of the spectrum. See? Not just the past. All right? So when you go back to St. John, the 1st chapter, in the 3rd verse, it says, "All things were made by him." Okay? And this means just what it says, man. All things. See? "And without him was not anything made that was made." And that includes the ICBM missiles, man. Okay? And that's why, again, when you read right here in Isaiah, the 54th chapter, in the 16th verse, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire." Now, this smith right here is symbolic to the modern day scientist. The Lord created these scientists and put a certain spirit on him to do his bidding. See that? Because the Lord is not going to come off his throne and create nothing. And this is one of the things that make the Lord the omnipotent, man. The highest power conceivable out there. And the fact that his creations create, man. See? Even when you go back into the time of King Solomon, which King Solomon was a master builder. And that's how we know that he was also Yahweh Shah. Yahweh Shah came back as a carpenter, man. Okay? And King Solomon was given the task of building the house of the Lord. Okay? That's just a side note. Okay? But King Solomon, he sent out, architects to build a temple, man. He didn't get his hands dirty. Okay? He pretty much gave the blueprint. So that's the same with Yahweh Shema Shah. The Lord has created these scientists, to splash these different atoms and come up with this instrument to carry out his work. See, let's read it again. "Behold, I have created the smith which again is symbolic to these scientists that blow off the coals and the fire and that bring forth an instrument for his work. See that? And what's the work of the Lord? What's the ultimate intents and purposes of the Lord? To overthrow the so-called white man, to destroy him. See? And the Lord is going to go about that destruction in a certain way, which is going to cement his justice, man. You know? The Lord is all about justice. And the reason why the Lord is going to use this weaponry to destroy the so-called white man and overthrow his system is because this is how the so-called white man came into power. You got a lot of guys that come up against these teachings, and they thing is, why would the Lord have to use missiles? You know, the Lord can use a tsunami. He could use an earthquake, a volcano, you know, so-called natural disasters to take down the so-called white man. And that's correct. But that's not justice. The Lord is going to take this man down the very way he came into power. Matter of fact, let me grab a quick precept to support that, found in the book of Proverbs, the 26th chapter and the 27th verse. It says, whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein. See? This is how the Lord go about his business. If you dig the pit, you're going to fall in that same pit, man. You're not going to fall in another pit, all right? You're going to fall in the very pit that you dug. See? Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. And that stone right here is a metaphor for those missiles. Did not the so-called white man roll a stone on all the other nations? When you look back, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, when he dropped the atomic bombs on those goops, that was a form of him rolling the stone. And even to this very day, there's different airstrikes that go on day to day with a so-called white man in an attempt to solidify his position as being the top dog, so to speak, on the planet Earth. He go about it by way of his weaponry, man. You know, his gift, which is the sword. So that's a form of him rolling that stone on everybody else. Again, it says, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him, that same stone. See? So that's why the Lord is going to use war, okay, in the form of these ICBM missiles to take the so-called white man down. Because this is how he came into power. See that? So going back here to Isaiah 54th chapter and the 16th verse, again, it says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. See, this is going to be the work of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. World War III is a work of the Lord, man. See? And it's actually scriptural. It tells you that in the book of Revelation. You know what? Let me go ahead and get that. All right? This is the book of Revelation. The 11th chapter and the 14th verse. It says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. What is this woe? That's dealing with World War III. All right, war when it's played out on a global scale. But guess what? That's a work of the Lord. World War I, World War II was a work of the Lord. And World War III, which is this third woe that cometh quickly, again, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, is concerning World War III. All right? And again, this is the method, the vehicle, if you will, that the Lord chose to take down the so-called white man. So again, it says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. Yeah, and what's this waster right here? Those ICBM missiles. Now, when you read the scriptures, you're not going to find, you know, the acronym ICBM, man. Neither will you find the word missiles, because you got a lot of jakes that can get simple. You know, that said, well, show me the word missiles or show me the word America in the scriptures. Look, you're not going to find the word America. But this doesn't mean that the Bible, the most powerful book on the planet Earth, doesn't speak concerning America. Okay, why wouldn't the scripture speak concerning the most wickedest kingdom ever erected, and which is pretty much the prison house for the Israelites, man? Okay? Now, when it concerns the missiles, you are going to find certain buzzwords that relate to the ICBM missile right here in the scriptures. For an example, you know, swords, okay, and darts, and in this case, arrows, all right? Which brings me to the book of 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter and the 13th verse. It says, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Now, let's examine this precept, because you might have one to rebuttal this by saying, well, it was common for at that time, you know, the men of war to use different instruments of war, and the bow and arrow would be one, okay? And that's true. But you got to explain this. It says, his arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. A literal arrow from a bow can't be shot into the end of the world. The only plausible explanation for this is the ICBM missile, man. See that? Because not even a bullet can be shot to the end of the world. But these ICBMs can, which is an acronym, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, meaning these missiles can travel from continent to continent, or, in other words, be shot into the ends of the world. See that? Let's read this again. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. Now, what I did was looked up the definition for this word arrow, okay? And this is heavy right here. And I'm going to share it with you brothers and sisters.
Arrow.
It says a slender, straight, generally pointed missile. See that? Let's read this again. A slender, straight, generally pointed missile. Now, why in the hell the word missile is in the same breath with arrow, man? This is the definition for arrow right here, man. See? See that? This is nothing more than the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah, you know, making his presence felt, man. See that? Now, when you go into different terminology used by the military, when concerning missiles, there's a term known as broken arrow, all right? Which, let me pull it up real quick. And this is from Wikipedia. It says broken arrow, all right? Broken arrow refers to an accidental event that involves nuclear weapons. See that? So you can't make this stuff up, man. It's not as if we concocted some elaborate plan, you know, to mesh with our doctrine. No, man, this is the scriptures showing you that it's alive and well. Pretty much this book narrates the current events that you see taking place. And again, the missiles is a very important component to the intents and purposes and plans of Yahweh Shema Shah, and is a major part of prophecy, man. See that? But it's a mystery that was only given to certain spirits here on the planet Earth. All right? So again, the missiles wasn't created, you know, for these different nations to flex their muscle or to solidify them as being a powerhouse, all right, to give them leverage or what have you. No, the missiles was created to carry out the work of Yahweh Shema Shah, which is to overthrow the so-called white man in his current system. See that? So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that, Lord willing. It was edifying. Till the next time I say shalom.